Good afternoon, everybody. And are you in for the treat of a lifetime? So we are here in Duane Hada's studio. Patty will introduce him, and he is going to paint us. You can start to see the pencil drawing. And, I've already given him some feedback and requests. So we'll see what this picture ends up being. But he's going to live paint for you. And this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful painting, and you will have a opportunity to bid on this and watch as this fish comes to life before your very eyes. This is for the Fly Fishers International Expo, which everybody should have multiple times on every calendar they own, November 5th through 7th. Follow us on FFI International on Facebook. Follow us. If you haven't found us yet, we're flyfishersinternational.org. Let's do a shout out for the ladies, for any ladies that want this beautiful painting. Go ahead and buy it. Tell your husband, later. We're at Women Connect at flyfishersinternational.org. Look for us on Facebook. FFI Women Connect is our Facebook page. Fly Fishers International Women Connect is our Facebook group. Before I forget, I'm Sandy Carpenter, Vice Chair of FFI Women Connect. And let me pull up. I'm going to spotlight you for a minute, Patty. Oh, let me add it. Here we go. This is Patty Lucan. She is, well, come on. We're looking for the spotlight. There we go. Oh, nope. Everything wants to focus on the beautiful, beautiful
That's
painting.
What we're here for, Sandy.
There we go. There we go. Now this is Patty Lucan. She is the chair of FFI Women Connect. She's on the executive board. She's a friend of Duane. She's a local with him. And Patty, I'm going to give you the opportunity to give us some scoop, give us some dirt, tell us a little bit about Duane. Duane, we're going to talk to you while we're doing this, but if you need to focus on like a gill plate or a bubble or two or something on the fish, just say, just give me a thumbs up, which means Sandy, zip it, and Patty and I will talk to each other. So Patty, take it away.
And if you need a comfort break, we'll go to advertisements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I paint fast, so
yeah.
Buckle up, hang on.
Okay. Well, in my role here today, I am chair of the FFI Virtual Expo. That will be November 5 through 7. And we are going to have multiple auctions for this expo. And our first auction is this auction, August 28th. And Duane Hada has been kind enough to say that he would actually paint a fish for us, a whole painting, a 16 by 20 painting for us while we watch. And then you can bid on this over the next 48 hours. It'll be a flash sale, and we will give you all the information on bidding. But let me tell you a tad about Duane, and we will sprinkle stuff about Duane in as we go along. We may really mess this painting up time we get through when we start talking about Duane. Yeah, what have you signed up for? So anyway, I'm going to turn the camera where it faces, where you can see Duane. Okay. And Duane is a renowned, I mean, not just locally, but nationally renowned painter. He paints in acrylics, he paints in watercolor, and you're primarily, you like acrylics?
I like water-based mediums. I like because it's natural, dries fast, cleans up easy.
Gotcha.
Those are some of the vibrant colors. That's what I like about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I've been in his gallery so many times that my house now looks like his gallery. But he does beautiful work. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. But not only is Duane an artist, but he knows the waters around here. He's a guide. He has every year he runs a smallmouth program that he has multiple smallmouth streams that he takes people to. And Duane, as we go along, we'll just tell you more about him. But right now he has kind of started the painting. We were having a little trouble with our audio. And so Duane kind of got started ahead of time. And so he's penciled in what he's making. Duane, how did you decide what you were going to make today?
Well, you requested a fish painting, and I do those a lot. I never tire of doing those. So I just wanted to kind of real quickly here lay in the foundation, the puzzle, if you will, the pieces. And so our main focal thing will be this cut bow, and he's going to be in here in a stream bed. It'll be an underwater painting, and just kind of like if you stuck your head under and got a little snapshot of a live feeding cut bow in a stream. And cut bows are hybridized. They're not a species of their own. They're in hybridization, naturally occurring usually, of rainbows and cutthroats, and they kind of have the characteristics of both. And I've caught a few in a lot of different places. Probably the most notable, beautiful ones were in Costilla Reservoir up in Vermejo, and they were big and feisty, and I'll never forget the experience of catching those. So we'll try to recreate one of those. We have them in our local waters too. I mean,
I've caught them.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
It's hard to find a rainbow a lot of places where it doesn't have some cutthroat characteristics in it. So the cut bow underwater is what we'll be doing for you.
Okay, well, that is what Sandy wanted. So here
Yes,
we
for a
go.
couple. Thank you, Duane.
Yes, we're on request here. So I'm gonna, I used to teach high school art, so I can paint and talk most of the time, but I may go in and out of that here a little bit. But I'm using acrylic paint, which is water-based, and I'm just kind of mixing up a color. I use, for the most part, a lot of primary colors, and use a lot of big, broad brush strokes. So the first thing I'm doing is just laying in a big, broad foundation, and it's fairly thin paint. And I'm blocking in around this pencil drawing I did, and it's a fairly light pencil drawing of my trout, which is the focal point in this painting. And so one of the things I like about acrylics is the fact that you can paint right over the top of, if I got paint suddenly on the trout, I'm not going to cry or throw it away, or the beauty of acrylic is you can always go over it. So I'm just laying in a color here, kind of mixing some yellows and blues together, and come up with some nice greens anyway. Maybe go a little cobalt blue into the mix, just to kind of stir it up a little bit and get some variation. I don't want it all the same. I want a lot of variation, because when sunlight goes through clear water and depth changes and reflections change, you get a lot of variation within that bluish green color. You'll have some that's very sunlit and some that's dark and shadowed, and that's what we're going to try to create. It's just a kaleidoscope of underwater light and patterns that are constantly shifting. That's one of the beautiful things of fishing in these clear water streams, is just being able to look and see all that light that's painted out before you. So that's what I'm just trying to capture here. I'm not real worried about my brush strokes at this point, but if anything, maybe have them going the direction that the water flows. That's kind of a nice thing. And just laid in some kind of green here. And then as I come in, I'm going to just mix a little white into that. Again, I'm using about 1.5 inch brush. And
Oh, Duane, you make that look so easy. I've taken a couple of your painting classes, and it's way harder than you make it look.
Well, as one guy said one time, he said, I've definitely got my 1,000+ hours of practice in, I guess. I paint about every day that I can. If I'm not out fishing, I'm usually working on a painting somewhere for the most part. I never tire of it, and that's how you get better. You got to put in that practice, and I just kind of have this idea that each painting is going to be a little bit better than that last one. So so this one's got to be good then.
Got to be good, absolutely.
No pressure, huh?
Well, I think there's already $1,000 bid on it.
Okay,
So
well, hey, that's
with that kind of bidding going on, yeah.
That'll be good. But anyway, I'm just kind of creating some variation in the light to dark pattern here, just breaking it up a little bit. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a dark tone. And a lot of times I don't use a lot of black at all in my paintings. That looks black maybe on the canvas, but that's actually a mixture of a phthalo green, and it's got a little alizarin crimson, a little ultramarine blue in there. And instead of calling it black, we're going to call it a dark. It's my dark value. And so I'm just going to lay in a foundation here. That is the string bed. And I find that my paintings have a lot more interest if they have more vibrant colors. I'm not afraid to use some color. Color's a good thing.
Now, Duane, what are you using on the right to mix your paints and put your paint on?
Okay.
What do you use?
It's just a little cheapy butcher tray that's, it's my palette, but I'll use anything from a plastic dinner plate to a styrofoam plate to a whatever it takes to, but just anything that will, you can kind of see my color layout here a little bit anyway, and just some various colors. For the most part, I'm using the primary palette colors of red, yellow, and blue with some white, but then I'll throw in a few earth tones here and there. And I've got a little jazz color, since we're making this a cut bow, that I'll explain as I use it here in a little bit. But anyway, so I'm laying in a foundation of some, this will be kind of our rock structure. And I'm just going to start gradually creating it a little more light. And the idea here is to create depth into the painting. We're taking a two-dimensional flat surface and trying to catch the illusion of depth into the painting, where you could, if you stuck your head underwater with a pair of goggles and a snorkel or whatever, and just look around, you would see diffused light, and you would notice that the rocks gradually will get lighter and maybe a little more bluish as they go into the distance, and then they sort of dissolve into the background. And so I'm trying to create that look of depth into the painting, because we don't want just a flat painting. We want the feeling that this painting, you're actually out there in the stream and you.
That fish is swimming, ready to bite. Is that right?
You bet. It's
Okay.
a live action type of a painting here. So now I just sometimes it's got a little, I don't know, trick or anything, but sometimes with acrylic, I'll just take like a nail here, and I'm just going to use it like a stylus to draw in some rock shapes. Just do that real quick, and these rocks are just going to gradually get smaller as they go in the distance. I can scratch into that wet paint, no problem. And
Oh, that's really cool.
yeah, and all I'm doing is I'm going to switch brushes here and go just a little bit smaller. And when you paint rocks, I always, when I teach, I tell people it's kind of like making cupcakes. I'm not a baker, but I think I understand enough. My wife's a pretty good cook anyway, baker and everything. But so you bake the cupcake, then you put the frosting on the cupcake, and then you put the sprinkles and decoration on the cupcake. So when you paint a rock, you pretty much create the rock itself. So let's go in here with some dark. I'll just say, for instance, this rock right here, and that laid it in. And then I'm going to gradually put the light up on top of it here and form the shape of the rock a little bit. And I might even use my fingers a little bit. They're great little brushes. And then the final thing you would do, create a little bit of light source on top of that rock. When you look underwater on a clear sunny day, there is just this beautiful, I keep using that word, kaleidoscope of light just dancing around on those rocks. And we'll do that towards the end here. So again, we're making the dark of the rock. And each time a rock overlaps another rock, there's kind of a little darkened area where that rock sort of V's into another, that little cavernous gap there. So I'm going to start creating those in a pattern through here. And again, it's important that they gradually get smaller as they go back into the distance to create that feel of depth into the painting.
So this is at least a 20-pound fish, right?
Oh yeah, you betcha.
All right.
That would be something.
That ought to be worth about $1,500
Well,
at least.
we'll auction him by the pound if we have
That's
to.
right.
So anyway, I'll speed along here because really the background is what this is, and it's it's important, but it's not the main part of the painting.
Okay, let's talk about the auction. You can bid on this painting at, and Sandy, I'm going to let you chat since I don't have access to my computer keyboard right now since we're using it. If you can put this in chat, it would be great.
All right.
The way to get to the place to bid on this, it's called Fly Fishers International Event Groove Fundraising.com. So Fly Fishers with an S, International Event Groove, GROOVE fundraising.com. That's a long one word and then .com.
Groove fundraising.
.com.
.com. All right. Fly Fishers International Event Groove Fundraising.com.
That's right. And y'all can click on that, save it, and go out and bid on this wonderful painting.
Saying wonderful. Well, I better get.
Yeah, well, I'm I'm thinking
You're
it's
pretty optimistic.
well, Duane, I've seen your work.
All right, we're gonna.
We actually got this idea. It was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was the last time we had Salbug.
Right.
While the rest of us were eating, Duane was over in the place of honor, and he was doing a painting. And he did that painting during the, while we all ate at the banquet, and then we auctioned it off at the end. And it was just awesome. And I thought, oh, wow, that would be really, really cool to do that for our auction. So thank you, Duane. And Duane does so much charity or whatever you want to call kind of work. He's a very community-minded man.
Well, there's just a lot of good things that need to be done, and just people step up and do. I'm real involved with the youth in this community here, and that's keeps me real busy, and that's a good thing. Take them fishing, take them hunting, take them all through the outdoor life, and that's a big.
Is that the hat you have on now?
It is. That's my Cross Trail.
Yeah,
Outfitters.
the Cross Trail
Yeah.
Outfitters.
Yeah, Cross Trail. That's an amazing organization that I'm the state director here in Arkansas, which basically means I'm in charge of, getting a lot of kids involved in the outdoors.
And he takes kids, especially that are from broken homes or, maybe a little bit disadvantaged, even though
Sure.
It's my understanding you don't have to be in this program.
No, there's no qualifications. It's just that it's an amazing thing we do with a lot of kids that wouldn't have that opportunity otherwise.
And they go like I know they killed hogs in was that in Oklahoma or Texas?
We had a rancher that invites us out every year. We do fly fishing for bass, and then he's got a bunch of feral hogs that have invaded his place, and he said, please take care of those, and we gladly oblige him on that. And the boys love it. It's an amazing experience that they get, and so it's have a combination cast and blast with hog hunting and fly fishing for bass. So.
And they do this in conjunction with one of the local churches here.
Mm-hmm.
And the children serve in the church. They're not children, they're young men and women. He has mostly young men now,
right?
But he does want to get more women, and he's asked me to be one of you've got to have female sponsors or female chaperones. So right. I'm going to go try to do a little bit of that with Duane, and maybe I probably won't shoot because, but they do. They go bow hunting. They go deer hunting with rifles. They fish.
I would say the majority of our activities are fly fishing. That's the beauty of fly fishing, is that there's so much hands-on and all of these, they love the fly tying. We do an entire fly fishing camp. We just finished it up here 2 weeks ago over in Jasper, Arkansas, and we spent a lot of time on the Buffalo River and just doing some amazing fly fishing there. And then we bring them over to Dry Run Creek for the kids that are of that age that can, and we do a lot of fly tying. we've had just amazing sponsorship on that. We try to get here's our thing on those kids, and that's where a lot of you've been a big help to us, Patty, and I never, that's just amazing, because here's the thing. If you teach a kid to fly high flies during camp and he gets good at it, gets hooked on it, you teach him to cast and he catches fish on a fly rod, you don't want to send him home without that stuff, because he wants to go home and show mom, dad, rest of the family what I learned at camp. So we try to send every boy home with a fly rod and reel outfit of their very own and a fly tying kit. And we've, thanks to good sponsors, we've been able to do that. That's an amazing thing right there. But there again, it takes sponsors, to do that. But we've got some great folks out there, and they see our program and they see what we do, and it's not a hard sell.
So you can just see Duane has lots of things that he does. And this youth group, I mean, these kids are just amazing. He's also teaching some of them how to paint.
Oh, yeah.
We had, matter of fact, I caught up with Duane whenever we were putting the advertisement together for this. And he was painting 2 huge murals in Norfolk, Arkansas. And he had some of the kids there, yeah, and they were working with him. So that was, it just gives them such an experience.
Well, one young lady, Brianna, is headed off this Sunday back to art school up in Minneapolis, and she took off a year. Obviously the school kind of went totally online. It's my opinion, and hers too. It's hard to teach art online, although we're doing a pretty good job of it right now. But yeah. But for her education and everything, she stayed here for this year, and so I hired her at the gallery, and she got a lot of really good experience. Very talented young lady, and she's going to go do some amazing stuff with what she's learned, and
Well, that's great, and you've also helped her with her paintings and supporting her, I know.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And Duane, tell us about your gallery. And it's located in Mountain Home, Arkansas.
We are in Mountain Home, Arkansas, and it's right here on Highway 62 West, really right on the border of Gassville and Mountain Home. And that is we're at 3512 Highway 62 West. And we're open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5. And you'll see Dorothy and Carol, my 2 wonderful ladies that work here and keep this place so I can get out and fish and work with the youth and go paint and stuff like that. So they're really blessed to have some awesome workers that keep this thing going for me. But it's been a good business. We've been at this location here, I guess, going on over 6 years now, and
has it been that long?
Wow. I know it doesn't time fly. I mean, I can't even believe that sometimes, but that's what they told me the other day, that this is I'm pretty sure that's what they told me is our 6th year anyway. So it's been a good location. It's been, business is good. I am very blessed to be able to make a living at what I love to do. And
so you're putting blue and green on the tail and on the fins.
Okay. Blue is just that natural shadow color. And of course, I'll come back and again, the beauty of acrylics is you can paint colors over the tops of these. But that's our foundation color anyway. That's one of the things with this type of painting here. You mix a color that's pretty close to what you want and put it down there, and then you can judge from that whether you need to darken it or lighten it or enhance it with some other color. And acrylics are just perfect for that, because you can come back and kind of manipulate that color to however you want it.
And a cut bow has a squared off tail, I see.
Well, that one does a little bit.
Yeah.
There's when he's turning away from me, this is kind of called foreshortened. The method of painting the fish so that it's not just straight out flat, but kind of a slight turning to it. So the head's going to be a little bit larger than the tail, and the body's going to have actually a natural curvature to it.
Oh yeah, I like that.
But in order to do that correctly, you've got to be able to paint in what's called a foreshortening technique, where it appears, if you took a photograph of that fish turning like that underwater, it would have that appearance that some things, it's kind of like some objects look bigger in the mirror.
Yes.
It's the same type of thing with the foreshortening technique.
Okay.
Things that are closer to you are going to be slightly, but getting it to balance, getting it to appear naturally is, to paint trout well, or any fish, or anything for that matter, you're going to paint best what you know. Those subjects that you have a passion for. I remember a college professor of mine kind of implored all of us students one time, said, never waste the time on painting anything you don't have a passion for. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty tall order, but the older I've become and the more in this business and experienced, I know exactly you definitely paint your best pieces that you get into, and things that you can relate to, things that I know the position of a fin, I know the shape and how it will turn. So those things that are the things that you can, if I sat here and painted a seahorse or something underwater and I've never seen one in hand or whatever maybe, or something like that, I'd have to think about it a whole lot on every brush stroke. But a trout, that's something I'm very familiar with, and not saying I can paint it flawless blindfolded, but I should have it down by now that all the body parts are in the right places and all of the
Oh, there you go. There's your cut, Bo, Sandy.
Yeah. Okay,
Yay!
We're going to start working on the cheek here, getting a nice rosy cheek, and putting that in. And
Patty, would you give me that auction address again? I tried it and it did
Okay.
not work.
Okay, Fly Fishers with an S, International Event Groove Fundraising.com.
That's what I have.
Oh, this may be bad. That's all I have.
Okay, we'll double check that, but I couldn't get that link to work.
Okay. Well,
It's not .org. Let's see that. I just wanted to double check it while we had everybody on.
right. Well, and I do know that they were, it may not be going live till the very end.
Okay, okay,
I'm not sure.
okay. I have it in there correctly at least, so just
Yes,
double checking.
That's the note. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now you're painting the jaw.
yeah, the lower mandible there, we're putting that in, and then we just kind of start building. And generally, you're painting a dark to light pattern with acrylics. It's an opaque paint, but it's also a very translucent and transparent paint also. So
Yeah, that's a little darker than I thought that would be.
And
So you're going to lighten it up.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely come back and.
Those rocks really do stand out. I mean, these front ones look really a lot bigger than the others. And you can, I mean, it definitely puts depth in.
Well, we'll do some other things here. They're just kind of laid in for. I use my fingers quite a bit. They're good little brushes.
And sometimes I've seen you use paint brushes.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing running water. Yeah.
Yeah, big house painter brushes. I'll do that sometimes. Whatever makes the correct stroke to create the right look and everything.
So Duane, tell us about your fly fishing experience, something that you've done since a kid
Oh,
or?
yeah, I grew up as a rural hillbilly kid here in North Arkansas. I've lived here, pretty much all my life. Crooked Creek was literally a bike ride from the house, and so I spent every day I could. Back in those days, your parents, they kind of trusted everybody and kind of knew, in a rural community, everybody knew everybody and everybody kind of looked out for one another. So it wasn't a big, for me to ride my bike down to the creek and spend there all day, wasn't a big thing. Just be home for supper, I guess, if you want to eat. But so it was a great place to grow up. Had a lot of freedom, and a creek is a great classroom. You learn everything about the stream and the habits of a fish. In this particular case, it's where my love affair with smallmouth bass began. The video is in my head of the first one I ever caught, and I think that thing was every bit of 8 inches long, but it burned a permanent video in my brain that will always be there and kind of helps to create that passion still to this day. I never tire of chasing those wild native fish and Ozark streams. So that's all where it all came from. I didn't get a fly rod till I was about 9 years old. I had an uncle on my mom's side that was a school teacher up in Michigan, and he would come down and spend his summers with us, and we'd go over and float the buffalo, and we'd wade fish Crooked Creek. And one year he brought a fly rod, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And of course, he left his fly tying kit with me, and he left his materials and all that, and that kind of developed that passion and spurred me on. But back then, I mean, there were no fly shops. There was, I pretty much did my fly tying from whatever animals I might have shot in the woods, or from, different materials off. My mom always wanted to know where her feather duster, why it kept losing feathers all the time, and then she'd find my fly box and see those bright pink and orange fluffy feathers sticking out of my flies, and we laugh about it to this day, but she always had her feather duster missing big chunks out of it anyway. So I remember in school looking in the Field and Stream magazines at these beautiful trout streams in the Rocky Mountains, and it just seemed like there was a lot of, being an artist, there was a lot of aesthetic things in fly fishing that appealed to me. I fished a lot of different methods, but it seemed like I always went back to fly fishing as my main for my fun fishing. There's just, a lot of ways to catch a fish, but there's few ways that are satisfying as tricking them with a fly that you've made and that type of thing. So for me, that was, after a while, it's like, what's the point of proving you can catch, 100 fish in a day? It becomes, what's the satisfaction that you gain from the fish you caught, enjoying each one and tricking those fish. Anybody can, I learned quick, anybody can grab a soft shell crawdad up on a rock and tail hook it and throw it out in the pool and catch a nice smallmouth. But can you trick that fish with an imitation crawdad that you made and get that big old wise smallmouth to hit it? And when you did that, you feel like you really accomplished something, and the satisfaction level is so much sweeter. So that was something I learned at an early age, and had some great, I really didn't ever meet anyone else who fly fished till I was in college. I mean, I'm serious. Had a guy that was in my dorm that was from Wyoming, and that's all he grew up doing was fly fishing, and so he and I hit it off quickly, and we spent a lot of time up on the Little Red River. Went to school at University of Central Arkansas in Conway, and then I had another guy that I met, still a lifelong friend. We met in class one day. We were both bored and thinking, how can we skip out of here and what would we do? And I said, well, I know what I'd do. I'd head to the Little Red. The next thing I know, we're both vacant from our seats and gone, and
So what class did you skip?
That was a geography class, which was a good class, but I remember our professor calling us in one time, and he said, "Guys," he said, just next time let me know so I can go with you." We were talking about some of the good fish we were catching and all, but those were good days, and a lot of things that I remember that. But I've been very lucky to have fly fished a lot of destinations. Years ago, my wife and I managed the Woodsman store in Fort Smith, Arkansas. We were the fly fishing pros on staff. We did fly fishing schools and guide service and everything for them. And then we later moved to Heber Springs. But one of the things that we did was a lot of travel destination fly fishing trips. So that allowed me, this, poor hillbilly kid that had never been out of the state of Arkansas, suddenly I'm going to places like Christmas Island and Belize and the Bahamas and Canada and Alaska. And it's just been an amazing life. I couldn't choose anything. I've been very blessed in that. And I'm getting ready to head to Mexico for a tarpon trip and here in a few weeks, and taking my son-in-law on his first fly fishing.
Oh, for tarpon.
You bet. So we're very excited about going on that. And so fly fishing's run deep in my family, and it's been a lot of fun. I've had tremendous success at it because it's just, again, it's a burning passion. I don't take this as bragging, but like even in the saltwater world, I hold a record at one of the guides down there in the Yucatan. I landed 8 permit in one day. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And
well, Sandy can tell you that's awesome because she's
I missed every permit that came by the boat.
Well, they're an amazing fish. But and again, the thing that I account a lot of that to is growing up catching big wild smallmouth. There's no fish, in my opinion, that's more wise than a big old river smallmouth. So a lot of that same technique of having a lot of patience and looking for that subtle strike and everything is a lot like I fish my crawdad flies for a big smallmouth. Is kind of like how I fish a crab fly for permit, and I've had good success on that. I also down in the Yucatan with a group, I went down there. I did double super slams in the same day, and most people were trying to catch a super slam like that week, and I did it twice in one day, which is catching snook, tarpon, bonefish, and permit. But I did a double super slam. I've got
Sandy, we need to hire him as a guide.
I'm telling you.
Well, it was very good fishing, and I had good guides. I've been blessed to have fished with some of the top guides at different locations, and I love fishing with native guides on their waters and just get a good feel for how they do it. And you never stop learning in this sport. Every fish is a new challenge. Every place you go to is a new destination, and that's a lot of it is the challenge of it. If you want a story of I took Ben Levin. He and I have traveled a lot, and he's a great guy, and we fished down in Belize, and they have what's called the golden bonefish down there. It's a color phase, almost like an albino bonefish, and they used to give a free trip if you caught a golden bonefish. So I up and caught me a golden bonefish, but they said since I was hosting the trip, it didn't apply to me.
Oh.
Anyway, they were quite celebratory of that. It's a beautiful fish. I mean, it's just a bonefish. It's got a very total. And when that school came by, and that was the third fish in that pot of bonefish, and I had to show great restraint not to hook the first 2 bonefish in front of it, which came over and looked at my gotcha and gave it. And I just I can't twitch it and I can't do anything until the one that was the golden bone stepped up there and took a hold of it. And it was pretty impressive catch anyway. But I don't know. It's that's the beauty of fly fishing. I love I think our good friend Dave says it often, you know, that this
Dave
is the
Whitlock.
key bet. Dave
Yeah.
Whitlock will say that, you know, this is one of the sports that you can enjoy and participate in from age 9 to 99. And is that not ever true? There's very few sports that allow that kind of level of participation, and I can never get enough of it. I'm very just, you know, again, my big thrills right now are native smallmouth bass. I never tire of those fish, because I think a lot of people are like, well, what's the big thrill of these fish? You know, they, in these creeks around here, they seldom get over, you know, 3 pounds, and that's true, but they may live to be 15, 16 years of age or so. I think more than anything, it's the fish that I grew up with. You know, every time I catch one, I immediately am flooded back to that same feeling and place. A lot of times I'm catching them in the same holes of water that I fished when I was, you know, a 10-year-old boy. So that's a big thrill for me anyway.
Well, I
do
like
that.
catching those too. So, and I didn't grow up on Crooked Creek,
Right.
but if any of y'all, Crooked Creek's in Arkansas,
Yeah.
and Duane talks about all these good fish there. Well, really, you know, what I'll say to you is, nah, there's not any fish there.
No, it's not any
'cause-
good.
Yeah.
No, we
No,
kinda-
actually, it's pretty known for having some good smallmouth. And of course, the Buffalo River is the Buffalo National River.
Mhm,
And in the 60s, it was set up as the first national river.
mhm.
So it's,
1974.
was it 74?
Yeah, I believe
Okay,
that was
I thought
when,
it was 64.
Uh-huh,
Okay,
74.
yeah.
Yep.
And then we have the world famous White River here.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about the Little Red River. That's in Heber Springs in central Arkansas.
Right.
And between Heber, or between the Little Red and the White River, and we don't hold it now. There's another place that's holding the largest
The world record brown.
world record
Mhm.
brown
Wow.
trout. Yeah,
Right.
but the world record brown trout has been out of the waters here on the White River and on the Little Red, and it's gone back and forth.
And the Norfolk.
And the Norfolk.
Yeah,
Okay,
we've-
I didn't realize on the
we've,
Norfolk.
if you'll look at the International Game Fish list, brown trout, there have been more White River world record browns produced than any other body of water. And that's quite a testament to the amazing fertility of the streams here. You know, these are like huge soup bowls. They run those generators, which keeps your water cold, you know, 365, and full of just a smorgasbord of things from sculpins and minnows and crawdads to, you know, natural aquatic worms to
Lots of hoppers right now.
yeah, they're, you know, and so our fish are just feeding machines, you know, and it's prime time 365. You know, we don't have a down season necessarily where they go into dormancy or anything like that. So it's the best world for a trout every day. It's like having the buffet open all day and never closes. So anyway.
I resemble that.
I've never turned down any buffet.
That's right.
Never met a buffet. I didn't like. Isn't that terrible?
Anyway, the North Fork is right by the White River. So
Right.
if you come to Mountain Home, Arkansas, you see the North Fork, you see the White River, and then you've also got Crooked Creek and Buffalo. So
Well, we've kind of been found out, and I
think so.
selfishly, we don't need any more anglers. We've got, but that's a selfish standpoint. You know, it's a great place to come, and we are an amazing retirement area, and we are an amazing place to vacation. We're an amazing place to live and raise your kids, and I think we have been found out. Anyway, it used to be pretty low population area, and I think it's kind of growing a little bit. That's not necessarily a bad thing, I guess. But we do have an amazing resource here. And I'll tell you what, Patty, you know, I was out on Bull Shoals Lake one day this week and Norfolk Lake, and it's amazing that resource there. And it's hard to get on everything. You know, you have to, if you're going to live here and fish, you kind of, it's hard to specialize in all the waters. You know, you're either a lake guy or a river guy. It's hard to be both. I don't know too many people that really do both of them with fervor. You know, I go out on the lakes a few times every year, and but I'm definitely on the local creeks and that a lot more.
Dwayne has this, it's a creek crawler. Isn't that what you call
yeah,
your
the Hada Creek
crawfish?
crawler is my
Beta
pattern.
Creek crawler. Oh man, now that's a fish catching machine.
You know, that was a fly. I tied my first prototype back in 1987. I show that to people and talk about that.
Oh, I
And,
love that pink.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, we're gonna, you know, hybrids a lot of times the colors of both species will be enhanced. Okay, so you'll get a enhanced coloration because of the hybridization. I've caught some of these out, like I say, in some of the reservoirs in Colorado and New Mexico and places where they have the best of both species anyway. And you know, I know from maybe from a purist standpoint, hybridization doesn't sound like a good thing, and I'm not here to debate that. I just want to emphasize the fact that this is a good, beautiful fish that's full of vibrant color and full of fight and we're going to paint him.
Now you have all of that yellow kind of color on it. Is that the sunlight
Yes,
coming
that's
down on the fish?
Mottled light coming down on the fish. Okay. And so I'm going to come in here and start popping up some more details anyway. And start getting a spot pattern going on this guy.
Oh, so this is a guy. Okay, now we know. Okay. Did you name him?
Well, yeah. Well,
Whoever buys him gets to name him.
oh yeah, there you go. Well, with a lot of species, especially during the spawning colors, the males kind of carry the dress a little stronger, but not always. But you know, brook trout would probably be the epitome of.
Oh yes, they're beautiful.
You know, Arctic char. You know, I got the fish a few years ago. A friend of mine is part owner in Larson Bay Lodge up in Kodiak Island, and he took me up there to fish and paint, and my goodness, what an experience. And the male Arctic char, Dolly Vardens, and all that we were catching were just, you know, they look like a brook trout on steroids. They were, again, in that char family, so they had all that beautiful bright orange and deep blackish green and golds. If I start fading off when I'm talking,
Well, that's and
Well,
you need to do that.
well, what happens is,
You're working.
yeah, and you know, painting and drawing are deep right brain creative. So I'm kind of on autopilot here a little bit. I'm not really thinking. I'm just responding, but yet occasionally my brain says, "Hey, you know, look at that complex spot pattern. You need to think here for a little bit." So when that happens, the talk shuts off and the creative side of the brain takes over, and I've got to focus and concentrate a little bit.
Hey, that's perfect because we, you know, since this is going to be a $2,000 painting, time we get finished, we understand.
Well, don't put a limit to it.
Oh, no limits. Okay, I got you. It's at
Maybe
least
yeah,
2,000.
that would be the minimum. I may buy it for that. We could resell it on the gallery here. No, it's
Now his gallery is the Rivertown Gallery. If y'all want to look at that and see what he has, he has a really nice website and puts his paintings out there. He puts some of the things he's done in the past, so that one of the good things about Duane is if you want something painted, you know, you can say you want a cut bow, just like Sandy did here, and Duane's doing a cut bow. So that's the kind of, he can do that.
yeah.
He
I'll
also,
do commission pieces, right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
he also does abstract work. Well, since you're doing your intricate pattern, I was
Okay.
trying to
Yeah.
fill in. There's a dermatology office here in town, and people come through just to look at Duane's paintings there. Duane has he's done a lot of impressionistic paintings, a little bit different than what he normally does. But
I need one of those guys every year. That was a nice little commission there. He bought 50, commissioned me to do 50 large canvases, some of them as big as 10 feet by 5 feet in size canvases that decorate that dermatology spa and clinic up there. And he wanted landscapes that were very mood creating, okay, with what we kind of, I don't really, when I do a commission piece, if you give me too much of your idea, then I just want to hand you the brush and like, here, you do it. So I'm not trying to be mean, but
yeah, sure.
It takes some of the creativeness out of it. But he was very good to, to just give me a few ideas that he thought would be the look he wanted, and he turned me loose. And I think it's some of my most interesting work and best work in a lot of ways. They definitely. Well, you just need to go see them, and that's what he created them for. People just walk in.
Yes, you don't have to even be a patient there,
right?
And they will give you a tour,
right? And
it's worth it. It's like going to an art gallery.
It was
maybe even a museum.
Well, it was it shows you. I love that when somebody who has the means, but also wants to showcase local art or an artist and to value, you could have just put photos all over the place, and that's nothing wrong with photography, but I think to have actual painted pieces that are in there speaks a lot for his taste, and it's gotten a lot of great reviews anyway. So
and as it should have.
Yeah.
And Duane's also done another really, really cool painting. It was a commission job that he did sections of the White River. How many paintings were actually
that
in
was
that?
50 watercolors that I did. It's been a few years back. What I did is I took a 2-year period and did a travel of the entire length of the White River. I started where it begins as a spring up on in the Boston Mountains at Pettigrew, and from the very source, I mean, where I'm literally standing with one leg across the White River, and where it comes out of a bluff at Pettigrew Mountain, anyway, and I followed that for its 722 miles as it goes and dumps into the Mississippi River. And I painted watercolors along the way to kind of document the different changes in the topography and the landscape and the people and just all the interesting things about this wonderful historic river that basically carves out Arkansas. It's the White River that's amazing 722 miles, starts way over in the northwest corner of Arkansas, and it actually travels up into Missouri and then kind of makes a big J hook. There are 5 impoundments on that, and then it travels all the way down and dumps into the there's a channel that they cut into the Arkansas River, but we took it all the way into the Mississippi River on the last leg of the journey. But my brother, who is a poet, a professor at East Central University, traveled some of it with me, but he wrote kind of reflective poetry, as I did plein air paintings. I actually, every painting is done right there at the site, which is called plein air painting. And I did it more out of convenience. People thought it was kind of a neat thing, but I actually used the water right out of the river for the watercolor paintings. And
oh, how cool!
Yeah.
I didn't know you did that.
And I did it more out of convenience, but then people kept responding just like you did, and I'm like, so I kind of played that up, like, oh yeah, the lifeblood of the river is definitely
in these paintings.
Yeah. And it's
and a lot of those are on display now at the
right, the
Baxter
whole collection, right. Yep, it was that whole entire selection was or collection was purchased by a local individual, and then he in turn over a few years donated it to the ASU, Arkansas State University campus, and they have it in their trout room on for permanent display there, and I get a lot of good feedback and comments and everything on that. So anyway, the spot pattern here is kind of tedious, so bear with me. It's
Oh, that's fine. We're
kind of like watching paint dry.
okay.
But,
You, Duane, you do your
okay.
spot patterns,
Okay.
and
I'll be
Sandy and I'll talk. Hey,
All right.
Sandy. Hey, Sandy,
Yep.
I'm going to put in a plug for FFI Women Connect.
Yeah.
Another plug.
Yep. And if those of you that were members, several of our rendezvous, you were fortunate enough to get some of Duane's note cards that I bought when I was at his shop. He does not limit himself to fish. He has fishermen, and for those of you that are in the casting committee, there is not a tailing loop in one of his paintings.
I don't paint bad cats. I do bad cats, I just don't paint them.
But yeah, he has some fisher people in his paintings. He has some people in a boat fishing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trout water that he's painted. And so if you were lucky enough to get some of his cards, and he has note cards available in his shop too. So yeah, so come to a Women Connect event, and when I run out of my cards, we'll have to have Patty get some more for our giveaway. Patty, what was your plug?
Well, I was just going to pull up the other.
All right, here we go. Let's do that. There we go.
Yeah, there's these are on sale. You can get one of these. This is a Yeti mug or a Yeti
Water bottle.
Water bottle. And we do have those. So, but we probably better quit advertising for Women Connect and get back to our auction, since that's what we're here for. And there are some other things that are going to be on at this auction, and I want to talk about those right now while Duane's in his critical section over here. Well, I mean, that is really beginning to look like a fish. But there is going, not in addition to Duane's painting, which is obviously our biggest item, we also have a Mystic outdoor rod combo, and it's a fly fishing kit. It's an entry level kit for it has a rod, reel, and line, and it also comes in a bag, not a hard container to control for the rod, but it's a 4-piece rod, and you can see that on the site Fly Fishers International Event Group fundraising.com. Then there's also a guided fishing trip, and this sounds like fun. It's an all-day fishing trip for 2, and you can choose whether you want to go to Lake Claire or Lake Erie. So all the Midwesterners, I mean, there's some good fish. Have you ever fished either one of those, Duane?
I've not fished either one of those.
That sounds like a good place to go. Yeah. So they've probably got some good steelhead up there, I would guess, and they've probably got some sea run brook or sea run trout. I don't know, maybe landlocked trout, smallmouth. Oh wow, they'd have tons of smallmouth, big smallmouth. Those lakes, they get up to 7-8 pounds.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Okay, I've talked myself into wanting that for sure. Okay. And then we have saltwater flies. These are tied by some folks on the East Coast, and there's 30 of them. So you can see a picture of them on the website. So for the fundraising website, and that is Fly Fishers International Event Group fundraising.com, and go there and bid on those items for the auction. So we've got lots of really good stuff, and those people on the East Coast, they made up flies that catch fish on the East Coast, and hopefully a few fishermen, whoever wants to buy it. Anyway, but like I say, our big event is Duane's painting here, and Duane, are you to a point now you can talk again?
Sure.
Okay.
Like I say, I taught high school art, so you got to be able to talk as you paint.
This is a beautiful, colorful painting.
Gorgeous.
Well, that's one, you know, I just kind of thinking who my audience is and there's, you know, there's no ugly trout out there. So
That must dry fast, Wayne, for you to be able to.
it does. I'm gonna sneak here in just a second, grab my blow dryer before I start doing a lot of the details because I'm getting a little bit of, but yes, that's one reason why I do paint with acrylics is because it does dry fast. A lot of people do not like that aspect of acrylics, but that's to me a plus. I like to yeah, it looks pretty good in the picture here anyway.
Looks really
Yeah,
good.
it's looking great.
All right.
Well, it's looking great in person.
Okay, well, here goes some hot air.
More than we've had.
Yeah.
So Duane, when did you actually start painting?
You know, my mom has a collection of pieces that are probably when I was 5 and 6 years old. You know, they're not half bad. I look at them once in a while and I'm like, you know, so I was that kid that was always drawing, you know. I just, you know, I couldn't have a napkin at the restaurant without flipping it over and drawing on it. And I couldn't sit in church without taking the church bulletin, sketching on it, or, you know, I'm just, some people are just that way, you know, have that creative gift and you know, we never had art in the small little rural schools I went to. So I was always that kid that, you know, was turning this test over at the end of it and trying to draw a picture on it to impress the teacher to improve my grade, you know, and that kind of thing. And it wasn't until I got into college that I took just a basic drawing class more out of boredom. You know, I'm like, it sounded like something kind of fun. I'll take it. And it was just like putting gas to the fire. I suddenly, you know, all of that bent up frustration I had of not knowing the whys or the hows and everything, it all made sense and came together. And so I changed my major from going into fisheries and wildlife management into art and became a art teacher, high school art teacher, moved to Mena, Arkansas. They hired me there and had a great run, enjoyed teaching high school. It's just that I got this carrot dangled in front of me. You know, these fly shops started coming to Arkansas about that time. Blue Ribbon had just opened up, coming from, that was Dale Fulton and his crew came in from Yellowstone area anyway, Montana, and kind of got that going. Wapsie came on the scene and let's see, there was a couple guys out of Little Rock, you know, and so I moved to Heber Springs and started up the Red River Angler back in that day. And that was pretty much, you know, I think I knew the 8 fly fishers in that part of the country, you know, that showed up at the Little Red River every weekend to fish. And
So did y'all have bait and stuff like that?
no, we were just strictly,
you were strictly fly
yeah, we were
fishing?
just strictly a fly fishing store. And we were, back then I was, that little old shop, I was one of the top sage rod sales people. You know, we had a big volume of sales out of there. Just, you know, that's the thing about a fly shop. We were an information center. You know, didn't want to be that snooty. We didn't know everything. We just wanted to help you catch fish, you know, and I think building those relationships where people come in and know that this is a place where you're welcome and you don't feel intimidated. You know, you may not know your woolly bugger from your midge, but you can come in here and get some instruction and tell some stories, and we'll tell you where to go. You know, we're not going to try to hide the fish from you. We're going to try to help you enhance your experience. And it was a great time. My wife, she's a very gifted, avid fly fisher, and so we did a lot of really, you know, made a lot of lifelong memories and friends. And you know, Rip Collins was one of my clients and a good friend of mine at that time. And you know, he up and caught the world record brown one day, and that just kind of changed everything for river in that part of the country there. And
Were you guiding him when he caught
I
it?
was not guiding with it. I
Man.
guided him many days. I was probably one of the first people to ever hold that fish alive. He called me and wanted my help. Anyway, he had the fish literally tied to his boat dock with a ski rope of all
Oh,
things.
wow.
I mean, and they couldn't, he wanted me to help him if they get an accurate weight on the fish. And the largest scale in the town of Heber Springs, when that was a certified scale, only went to 25 pounds. And we knew it was bigger than that. And so we did the length times girth formula, and it came out to 33 pounds, 11 ounce. And as big as that is, at that time, that was not a any kind of it wasn't even a line class record, I don't believe. So Rip was seriously thinking of just turning the thing loose, putting it back in the river. And it was by fate or design or whatever you want to, God's great insight into things. I believe that fully. That I called my friend Greg Patterson, who was working for the Game and Fish Commission at the time. And
Okay, I know Greg.
and I said, Greg, we've caught this big fish here on the Little Red River, and didn't know if maybe before we turn it loose, if you wanted some pictures of a big fish, since you do photography for the magazine and everything for the Game and Fish. And he said, well, how big is it? And I said, well, it's 40¼ inches long with a 28.5 inch girth. And he's like, how big? And I told him that again. He says, are you sure you measured that right? And I'm like, well, we've measured it several times. I don't want to stress the fish anymore, but he said, well, hang on a second. And they had Mike Manley's fish mounted in the Game and Fish office at that time. And that was the previous world record at 38 pound, 9 ounce off the Norfolk River. And that was the current world record. And he said, Duane, I just went in here and measured Mike Manley's fish, and it's only, I think, 38 inches with a 24 inch girth. And you say you've got a 40¼ inch with a 28.5 inch girth. And I said, yeah. And he says, you've got the new world record. And I said, no, it's not that big. And he said, well, it has to be. And I'm like, it's big, but I mean, I don't think it's that big. We kind of arguing there. And he said, well, what have you done with the fish? And I said, well, it's tied up to his dock here. And he said, oh my gosh. He said, well, I can't get up there right away, but he said, you need to keep that fish alive and you need to get it certified. He said, that's the new world record. And I'm like, still didn't believe him. I thought, well, it's going to be a big disappointment. They're going to come up here and like, well, it's 36 pounds or something, So anyway, Rip was, he and a good friend of mine, Andy Packmore, and some of the others, they went to the local hardware store and bought 2x4s and some chicken wire, and real quickly put together a makeshift cage, and sunk it in the bottom of the river behind his boat in the dock there, and put that fish in it, turned it loose in there. And I'm going to tell you right now, 2 or 3 times that fish jumped and almost cleared that box.
Oh, wow.
So we had to get a lid put on it. I mean, there's so many incredible things about that fish that defy what should be and was and everything. But anyway, it finally, Mark Oliver and the Game of Fish, he sent a hatchery truck out. And on that next Monday morning on Mother's Day weekend, they gathered up that fish and hauled it into town. It was like a funeral procession of the vehicles that were following that. And Tom Bly Sr. was the postmaster, and they took that fish in a wet big bed sheet and carried it, in a procession right into the post office and laid it on the scale, and it bounced around there a little bit, and everybody kind of looked at it, and it settled on 40.4, and everybody kind of looked at each other for, is that it? And so then all the celebrating began, and we're like, so shouldn't we be doing something with the fish that's laying here? And
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, let's get that. So we kept it alive for a couple of days. There was a lot of talk about what should be done or what we were going to do. Rip at one time wanted to just take it back down and put it in the river and all, but the photography that was necessary and just, all the press suddenly broke out about it and everything. And the sad part, I guess, is that the fish, eventually expired, and you just can't stress a fish that much and expect it to, and I remember one of the outdoor reporters, he was like, well, I can't believe that fish died. And I said to him very straightforward, I said, let me hold you underwater as long as you held the fish out of water. Let's just see how that goes over for you, you know. And he said, I get your point. So anyway, but it was an amazing story. We did some shows with Jerry McInnes and his Fish and Hoe show, which was, and Rip told his story. It's just a neat part of, you know, who'd have thunk it, you know, that you would be part of something as, you know, this fly fishing life has been a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. I've been very blessed. I've met the most amazing people and got to fish, you know, little hillbilly kid out of North Arkansas that, you know, my early fly fishing gear probably could have all been bought at a garage sale for every bit of $10, you know, and didn't have any instruction. I just wanted to so bad, you know, and before the days of videos and all, so I was out there beating the water till I caught fish, but
Well, that's really
enjoyed it.
awesome. Yeah. Now
Enjoyed
you
it.
do, now I know I've gone on at least one of them.
Mhm.
You do a smallmouth trail
Right,
each
the
year.
smallmouth tour.
Tour, you call it a
yeah,
tour, yeah. Okay.
And I do that. My son-in-law, my goodness, I am blessed beyond. My daughter had the fate or God's blessing to marry just an amazing young man, Tad Ford, that works at Dolly's there, and he guided out in Colorado a couple of years and managed a fly shop out there, and he's just eaten up with it too, and so we're kind of a fly fishing family. He and I, you know, our funnest days together. You know, I don't know if there's a lot of men out there that have a son-in-law that they really like hanging out with, but I do mine. He's a great guy, and so anyway, just kind of something we threw together. He definitely shares my passion for the wild native fish in these streams, the Ozark streams and smallmouth. And so, you know, knowing that it's probably the fish, and not just my opinion, but several, that is possibly at greatest peril of being over harvested and the water quality of the streams being degraded. I mean, everything seems to be against them. And they're such an amazing, amazing fish. They fight tremendous. They live these beautiful long lives in the most beautiful streams in the country. So that's our passion. Nothing against trout. I love trout. I'll fish for trout any day of the, but again, you give me my druthers and I'm going to be smallmouth fishing on a Ozark stream somewhere. It's just, and so we not to exploit these streams. God knows but a stream without friends and people without knowledge is, you know, a stream needs to have its protection and its protectors. And so that's part of what the smallmouth tour is all about, not just to make you a better fisherman, because, you know, you learn quickly that there's a whole nother set of skills necessary if you're going to be a successful smallmouth fisherman. You know, anybody can go out there and beat the water long enough to probably catch a few, but if you're going to be a threat to the smallmouth and your ability to catch them, you need to know a thing or two about their habits and what they feed on and how to approach them, how to, you know, how to fish, how to tie flies that imitate their food forms. That's what we're all about. So it's a crash course, but the people that have taken the class, when we have really good conditions, I know sometimes we've gotten flooded out and we're at the mercy of the weather.
We caught more brim than we got.
Yeah.
We had water, so much water we could have.
Yeah, we've had sometimes those ones that we schedule in the early part of the year can get a little bit of flooding, you know, but we had one. We've had several people that have caught their personal best. We had a 20.5-inch smallmouth caught this year on the tour. Now that's, you know, most people will fish their entire lifetime and never catch one like that. But then you get people that are, you know, fairly new to the sport and all, and catch something like that. That you know, you don't catch one of those by accident. That's an old smart fish, and when that happens, it's an amazing event that they'll never forget. Anyway, that's the smallmouth tour. We'll do it again next year, but we had on one of the tours, just to tell you what the potential, we've got a stream up in Missouri that we do the tour on. our 6 anglers in one day caught 185 smallmouth.
Okay, I'm
That's how
going
big.
on that one
Yeah,
next
you
year.
need to. And I'm not going to just mention the name of the stream right off here to,
Yeah,
but it's a good one. And we've got an amazing piece of property up there and a landowner that very much protects those fish, and that's a good place. So that was a neat deal.
so you're putting some bubbles in here.
Yeah, what I'm doing, the paint bubble, not to create bubbles, but
Oh,
I had it
okay.
a little bit thin anyway. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a little motion in the water now a little bit using a large brush and just kind of dragging it here. This is my Bob Ross happy little water strokes going on.
Oh, okay.
Put my afro wig on here for a minute and kind of create some motion coming through the water. A little bit here, and then I'm going to start doing some other little things. We're going to, again, we said this is a cut bow, so I got to get that part going on here a little bit too. But anyway, starting to shape up a little bit.
Oh, it's a gorgeous fish.
Mhm.
Yes.
Kind of put a little more, I guess I should ask, is this kind of what you had in
Sandy's just, yeah.
Absolutely.
She may get outbid though. Don't let her have
I
it.
know.
Don't let her have it. She's gonna earn it. No, I'm having fun here. I appreciate, here's the neat thing about the fly fishing community. My goodness, have you ever seen a more connected group of people with a like mind, like purposes, and conservation, the educational parts of it, all of that. And I've been, some of you have been around the conclave that we used to call it, and the sow bug and stuff like that. I've been a fixture with many others, not toot my own horn or anything, but it's just been a family gathering. I can remember the old days of us gathering up a bunch of people when we lived in Fort Smith, or even when we lived in Mena or Heber Springs, and a caravan of us coming up to stay at the Ramada Inn and get our room every year, and the highlight speakers of, you've had all the greats at one time or another get to come to that event and share their expertise and knowledge, and they raise a lot of good money. And I mean, it's been a platform for me. I'm thankful to you guys because I got to showcase my art, which has definitely helped me in building my career. It also gave me a venue to build up a guide clientele of people that I've guided. I don't guide that much anymore. I've just got so much going on, and that canoe gets heavier and harder to push down the creek every year too. That guiding's a young man's game, I tell you now. And I love, there are a lot of guides out there that I've started them years ago, and I'm not trying to take any credit. What I'm doing is just saying how beautiful it is for me to see a young man that chooses this. There's 2 or 3 of them that are smart, educated, college degreed young men, and they choose guiding as their career, and they're good at it, and they're pleasant, and they're conservation minded, and they become world travelers. I mean, and they're just great spokesmen for the sport. And they're just, if I had money to spend for a guide trip, I'd hire them in a heartbeat. They're just good young guns that are, they know this river so well and every fish in it, and they're protectors of the river, and that's good stuff. We're in, when you see that, we're the future of our sports in good hands. And that all came up through, one generation just passing it on to the next. I mean, I have a real problem with anybody who's been in the sport longer than 10 years. I don't care what your level of expertise is, but if you're not taking a youngster and passing the sport on to them, shame on you. Okay. If you're not teaching conservation, shame on you. If you're not involved in a young person's life, you're one selfish person. Okay. I'm just going to go out and say that. You need to, they're out there everywhere, and the sport is in need of that new blood, and it's fun. It's fun to teach. It's fun to watch them grow. It's fun to watch them develop. I get people all the time are stopping by here, and and bringing, you know, I got a guy the other day, he had 8 fly rods, all of them 2-piece. I mean, some nice Sages and Orbis and everything. And he said, I'm just converting everything over to 4-piece rods. Here's 8 2-piece rods. And I said, I know some boys that's just gold to them, you know.
Sure.
They'll make 4 pieces out of them pretty soon. And you know, it's just it was just you know, and people do that all the time with you know, fly tying material or various things here anyway. So all right, let me start focusing again a little bit on some things and kind of look this thing over and kind of create some motion in it. But
well, Duane, one of the things you were talking about there is conservation and youth, and the money that we're raising from this auction goes to we're starting a new youth program, a heavy intensive youth program at FFI, and part of the money that's raised from this auction will be used for that. Part of it will be used for our conservation projects. And we've got a number of coalitions that we have with conservation. And I think we're really starting to do some really good work with conservation.
You bet. Well, I tell you what, you know, my organization, Cross Trail Outfitters, benefits from a lot of the fly fishing community and sponsorship and donations. And you know, I'm going to tell you right now, and you know this very well, we could not do the level of trips and the quality of trips that we do without that support. So thank you all who support anything, but especially I'll just, you know, for my organization, we're a 501c3 and we could not function without that, you know, without that giving and support, and that's a beautiful thing. So
and same way with FFI.
Oh yeah,
and with the way our climate's going right now, if we've all the conservation we can do is much better.
Oh yeah. Well, there's you know, I tell you, I put a big emphasis on the sport and the skills in fly fishing with my organization, because it's just a natural. I mean, you can meet and tie flies, you can meet and learn casting, you can do you know, so many things that that we do with these youngsters. And I say youngsters, or anywhere from age 8 all the way up to age 20. And the neat thing about our program is that as they get older, we bring them into the mentoring. You know, we had an amazing young man. You'll hear and see.
Oh, a little spit.
Yeah,
Oh, that's really
my
good.
DNA thrown in. I'm sorry about that. I don't even know I do that sometimes, but just you know, out of some habit. But
so this is going to have some DNA
yeah,
on it.
it's kind of,
Okay.
you can always prove that this was a Duane Hada anyway.
Yeah.
But we got this young man out of Conway, Arkansas, and his story is tragic but beautiful. His dad, sadly, in Afghanistan, was his life was taken in line of duty. And you know, you leave the 8-year-old boy with, and that's where CTO stepped in. His mother found one of our brochures and got this young man involved in one of our Texas chapters, and he has just done amazing. And he's grown and matured. He's now 18 years of age, and we bring him in and use him in a lot of our camps as a mentor. And he loves fly fishing and has gotten very good at it. He lives here in Conway, Arkansas now, and we've used him a lot in a lot of our summer camps and everything. And he's just a great Wyatt is his name anyway. Just a beautiful young kid that's got an amazing story of just how we've kind of stepped in and done the mentoring in a situation where it made all the difference in his life, for sure.
Now are these some bubbles?
Yeah, this is, you know, aerated water.
Uh-huh.
If you stick your head underwater and look, you're going to see a lot of, you know, it helps create movement in the painting, and kind of streak them a little bit just to kind of
More movement.
More movement. There you go.
Yeah. Ah, cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, the
Yeah.
third thing that we're using our funds for is the Learning Center.
Okay,
And
awesome.
FFI has an awesome learning center. If you need to find out about anything about kind of fly, we have the largest instructional index for tide flies.
Wow.
And they're all, if you know, you can look it up if you want to fly fish for smallmouth bass. You say you can push the buttons and put it in that you want to talk about smallmouth bass, and it will pull up flies just for that. And you need that when you have that many flies
Sure.
on display. But you can spend an awful lot of time because there's all we have people that have put these flies together. So we have good instructors that help you. We have casting, we have just general fishing instructions. So, and it's all fish, all waters, not just trout. So that's why when it comes in, oh, the sunlight.
Yeah, we have a little dappled sun coming through here a little bit.
So when you support this auction, you are supporting your fly fishing conservation, you're supporting our youth and teaching them how to fly fish. And you're also supporting our learning center. And the learning center is for adults and youth, but primarily it's geared toward adults. And it's also geared toward our for leadership. If you want to have a leadership position in FFI, there are ways that you can go online and find all kinds of leadership programming. So this auction is extremely important for us to raise some funds to support all of these endeavors. So thank you so much. Bid high and bid often.
There you go.
And Sandy, have you got your bid in yet?
I'm telling you, I keep pressing that button the minute it lets me.
All right,
Okay.
well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
This painting's for you, man. It looks
I
like
tell you.
I'm gonna start wrapping up some things here in a little bit, but a few little and again, I'm just trying to give that feel of dappled sunlight kind of coming down and seeing where it's going to strike on a rock and like that, and kind of make that little dance in the water. And
it is, and I love you put those streaks in there. I mean, that really, really added. Wow.
Well, you know, painting goes through kind of stages, and that's one of the things when I teach a painting class. You know, I get a lot of students that'll, you know, if they're not real experienced with it, they get kind of stuck and they don't know, you know, how to take it to that next level, and that just comes with experience, and then also knowing your subject very well. You know, you paint best what you know, and
We just had a wonderful painting lesson here, along with a good conversation with Duane, and hopefully y'all have enjoyed meeting Duane and want one of his paintings, and particularly this one. So, but if you don't get this one, he's got a shop here,
I'm full of them.
Rivertown Gallery, and you can look him up and he'll ship to you.
Okay, here goes Mr. Cut Bow. That starts
Mr. Cut Bow right there.
at the lower mandible.
Ah,
And right along the gill plate just a little bit.
you seeing that, Sandy?
I am.
I'm gonna kind of
There's my fish.
fade it just a little bit here.
Oh, wow. You know, I keep thinking that that's as good as it needs to be, but he just keeps adding.
Well, got a few little, repeat some of that color a few places here. I've enhanced some of that coloration. Now, what kind of fly does this rascal need to be eating? That's the next
Man.
question. We're gonna put something out here in front of him. Let's see.
Cut bow here, let's see. This time of
Well,
year, they
yeah,
want
we just finished up our sulfur hatch, which is pretty cool. And
Yeah, I think I was catching them on spruce moths.
as a subsurface or
I don't know, sitting on top.
sitting on top. Well, I've got him underneath here, so I'm gonna have to put a subsurface I'm gonna put an
Trying to think.
actual, instead of a fly, I'm gonna put a aquatic nymph probably that he's maybe a sulfur nymph.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
For a
You
March
can do it.
brown nymph. March brown's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, we can put a March Brown. There you go. I see how this board behind Duane has gotten so covered
Yeah.
and stuff.
Got to be about 5 inches thick already.
I just kind of make my, I'm too lazy to clean it. I just,
Hey, it's, I think it makes it have a special, unique look.
put just a little bit of a motion of some, I'll put like a little broken piece of moss drifting through or something just to add to the motion of the fly, of the fish a little bit. Just maybe another little.
Yeah, that's what gets on my line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's a little strong. We'll kind of pull it down some. Kind of brighten that eye piece just a little more here.
Eyes are so hard to paint.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's the critical part for any kind of wildlife or anything living, whether you're doing a human portrait or, you know, if you don't get the eye right, might as well just put an X over it and prove that it's dead, you know?
Yes.
A little more white highlight right there for reflective. And dull it down just a little bit. Okay, give him an underwater. Look here to a few more little white broken streaks here, up here, there. We're getting down to the nitty gritty anyway, but hey, there's a frame right there that looks like it's just made to go on this thing.
Okay.
And put my palette out of the way here.
Show them that palette.
Okay.
Let's
Will.
see. Okay, you want this in
Yeah.
front of it, behind it? How do you want that fixed?
Of course, we're going to put a nice finish coat on this thing in a minute, but
Oh, wow. And you
Oh,
even get the
my.
frame, guys. Is that not awesome looking?
let's
That is beautiful.
let me see my,
Got to get your signature too.
yeah, we got to get a John Henry on here.
Oh, and you use it with a paintbrush, yeah.
Sometimes I scratch it in. When I'm plein air painting, I always scratch it in, but I'm going to do it with a paintbrush here.
Okay, guys, this made this a $2,000 painting at least.
Mhm. That's just for the frame.
Oh, it's working paint, not in the way, but it is working paint, right?
Well, you know, I've really enjoyed watching you put this together. I know
This is
they're
my-
complete shows on TV.
My palette here
Yeah.
anyway.
Hook it up to that one. I think that was the one that it's
Okay.
showing
You
on.
can kind of see all my colors being mixed around there.
Mhm.
But for the most part, it's a lot of just red, yellows, blues, and the primary colors, and of course, the use of white. And then I make a dark, which is kind of like a black, but I'll use a phthalo green, a lizard crimson, maybe a little ultramarine blue in there. But let me kind of turn this somewhere where,
We'll put it on this one.
if that.
Okay.
which camera,
It's on that camera right now.
okay, what's the best way to move the
Probably
camera or
turn
what?
it. Yeah, well, I can do that.
Okay, I'm
We
gonna
can
hold
just
it.
totally move the
Okay,
camera.
I'm gonna just,
We've got some good light there on it.
Oh my,
Sandy, you gotta
Okay.
have it.
okay. there
that is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Up a little
dude.
bit more, up a little, there you go. Oh my,
we go.
Wow.
But anyway, there's your nymphing cut bow anyway on a.
That's
bed
gorgeous.
and, 16 by 20 with a frame on it, and hopefully that will raise some money for you guys. I thank you so much for letting me do what I love to do. This was fun.
Well, and thank you, Duane. Very much fun. I've actually learned some stuff today, and I may end up having to come take some classes. And you won't have any hair left time you get through teaching me. But other than that, we're good to go.
You bet,
Okay.
you bet. Well, this has been fun, and I appreciate it, guys. And
Thank
You
you
ever
so
down here
much,
in
Duane.
Beaumont?
That was fun.
That was very much fun. And guys, if you want this painting, all you got to do is go to Fly Fishers International Event Group Fundraising.com. And remember, there's some other items that you can get as well. A Mystic Rod Combo, guided fishing trip up on Lake Erie or Lake Claire. And that's for 2. And it's all day trip. And then we've got saltwater flies. There's 30 of them. And they are geared for the East Coast, but you know, saltwater flies you can pretty much use anywhere. And
Sure.
frankly, I use some saltwater flies here. Smallmouth bass love saltwater flies.
Yep.
So Duane, thank you so much. We
Thank
very
you,
much
Duane.
appreciate what you do and what you do for the community as well as FFI. So thank you, thank you.
thank you for having me. Enjoyed it.
All right, everybody, bid often, bid high. Till the next
For the
time.
next 48 hours, it's a flash auction. Thank you.